Making a quick video about why I decided to switch my goals from being solely wealth oriented and building my wealth. Like, that was my priority. That was where I focused my time and energy, to now I have a dual approach where I focus on my health and I focus on my wealth, because I don't think it was mutually exclusive. Like, I always made the excuse that I don't have time for my health because I'm trying to create wealth. And I'm trying to create wealth so that I eventually have time for my health. But I realized that the damage you do by not sleeping enough, by not eating right, by not exercising, while it is probably like 80% reversible, I would say you 20% of that damage is permanent, right? And that damage accumulates every year, every year, every year. And that's kind of what leads to the aging of your body. So basically, I came to that realization that, whoa, I don't need to just prioritize wealth creation. I can also prioritize my health. And another reason why I decided to prioritize my health is because of a company called Isomorphic Labs. Isomorphic Labs. So most people have probably not heard of this company or the software they use, AlphaFold 3, which is crazy to me because this is going to revolutionize everything. It is going to change the world. To understand just how this is going to revolutionize the world, you have to understand what a protein is. And yeah, most people are going to say, I know what a protein is. It's the thing that moves your arms and it's in your muscle. And yeah, sure, a protein is in your muscle, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. A protein does so much more. There's so many different proteins. um, I think there's about 20,000 or more proteins in the human body. So it's not just muscle. It's from anything from helping your cells to divide to um, deciding what can come in and out of your cells. Protein that repairs your DNA. There's protein that divides your DNA, basically slices it in half to open it so that it can be read. There's proteins that extend your telomere. There's protein that divides your DNA, basically slices it in half to open it so that it can be read. There's proteins that extend your telomeres. There's proteins that do so many things, right? That you understand the importance of a protein and how prolific it is in making you alive. Um, you might be asking, why is it important that we know the structure of a protein, and why is it important that we know what can bind to it? Well, the importance of it is, if something goes wrong with that protein, it's not folded correctly, or there's a misspelling in the protein, right? Because proteins are made of amino acids, which you can think of it like an alphabet that makes up the protein, right? If something goes wrong in that process of folding the protein, or even something, a sequence of amino acids is off, it can cause disease, right? That's what most diseases are. They're something that's gone wrong with DNA, which eventually means something has gone wrong with proteins. Either there's too many of them, they're misfolded, they're damaged, they're not doing their job, or they're doing their job but not stopping. So a lot can go wrong with these complicated machines in our body, which leads to the outcome of disease. So Isometric Labs is basically taking proteins, figuring out what they look like, something that took scientists anywhere from a few months to tens of years to figure out the structures of proteins, most of which they still haven't figured out. This AI algorithm can predict the structure of a protein with such accuracy that we now have so many proteins figured out. Not only can it figure out the structure of a protein, it can figure out what binds to a protein, which means you can block proteins, you can change the function of a protein, And you can basically use that to cure diseases. Be able to do that entire process on a computer instead of having to actually go out and make the molecule, test the molecule in animals, test the molecule in people, see if it works. Basically going to have such a big impact on drug discovery because it used to be that if you had a protein that you identified that was causing a disease and you wanted to stop this protein, you would basically have to come up with a theory about what protein or what molecule would fit into that protein to stop it, right? And after that, you would have to basically find the structure of this protein, how the molecule would bind. That would take years and years and years and so much effort and so much trial and error. You would have to actually build this molecule, test it out. You'd have to do so much. And then in the end, it doesn't work, right? And then if it does work, you have to test it out in animals. Then you have to test it out in people. And it's just like such a long process. And then 90% of drugs, they don't end up working. They're either too toxic or they don't work good enough for the FDA to approve them. So most drugs get thrown out. So basically, it's gonna go from taking such a long time to come up with a drug, think about it, test it out, and to only find out it doesn't work, to we have a couple few molecules that we have a high chance of working and low side effects, because not only can they test them on the protein, the target protein that's causing the disease, they can also test them on the other 20,000 proteins in the human body to see how they interact, to see where they bind, to see if there's going to be any side effects. Basically, side effects are when a drug basically binds to other proteins in other places that you don't want it to, like the not target protein. Predicting there's a high chance in 30 to 50 years that we will be able to cure most diseases. So if that is the case, I want to increase my chances of living that long as much as possible. So that's why I decided to prioritize my health.